Hi, I'm Geraint Wyn Davies, and I'm in good company with Len Cariou. Len, thanks for joining me. It's been a while. Len, I just want to thank you for joining us because, this is us trying to reach to our audience with people that have meant a great deal to the festival and to theatre in general, and to me, to be quite honest, people who I really just like and admire and have huge respect for. And so, yay, I get to sit and just chat with Len for a bit. We wouldn't do this normally unless it was at Cafe Luxembourg or something in New York. So this is the only way we can do it now, which is pretty good. So thank you.
It's a nice thing to be able to do this at least, because this year was my daughter's 60th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And my granddaughter's 30th birthday. And the only way we were able to communicate was this way.
Right.
And, because nobody can go anywhere. It's a huge pain.
And where do they live, Len?
They're both in Winnipeg.
Oh, so they're back home.
They're home, yeah.
So you were born in San Boniface.
Yeah.
And you were in Winnipeg until you basically left to go into the theater. Well, you worked at Rainbow Stage and things like that, right?
I did before I came to Stratford, yeah.
Okay. And I was reading, and you very similarly to me were running and directing all the shows at school when you were in grade 10 and 11 and stuff like that. And so how much freedom did you have at that time?
I didn't do any of that. The only thing I ever did in high school was I'd gone to Holy Cross Catholic school all my life. And then we moved from St. Boniface, Norwood, to East Kildonan in Winnipeg. And there was Miles MacDonnell Collegiate was right down the street from us. So I said, this is ridiculous. Why should I go all the way into the city when I can walk, 5 minutes to school? So I joined the Miles MacDonnell high school, and I did the first thing I did was Ray for Extra.
And
was it was the first time I'd ever done that.
Well, that's pretty cool. And did you keep on doing that throughout the rest of your school, high schools?
No. That's the only one I ever did. I had a trio, and I was singing all the time. So that's how I went through high school, really.
Oh, okay. And what sort of stuff were you doing?
Well, all the songs of the day. I started out in a quartet, then a trio, and then I finally smartened up and said I'm going to do a solo.
Oh. So
that's how that happened.
And did you guys play instruments as well?
I didn't know.
No, but the other
we had a
members,
trio, yeah, piano, bass, drums.
Well, that's pretty neat. And so from there, how big was your family?
I'm the youngest of 5.
Okay, both sisters and brothers?
2 of each. All of them are gone.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
but during the years, may I ask, did your folks and your brothers and sisters and stuff come to see you in plays and support you in the theater and things?
Oh yeah, they were always big supporters of mine, especially when I was going through high school. Because I was singing all the time.
Right.
And my mother was a singer.
Okay.
And I had as a boy soprano. When the voice changed, my singing teacher said to me, you may lose your voice altogether. It may change and you won't be able to sing. And I said, oh God, that'd be awful. Because I enjoyed it so much. So I never shut up from then on. I just every day. And I used to come home, and I was in the neighborhood. I would come home at nights, to come in, especially in the summertime, when I could be out alone. And I would, on my way home, I would sing.
Oh, great.
So the neighborhood, it became a famous part of the neighborhood.
You coming home?
I found out many years later, yeah. That people used to say, well, Len's going to be coming home shortly. Let's go out on the porch.
That's great. Okay, so you're singing, you walk down the street, people are going, Len's coming home from school, let's catch him singing. And then you do a show or two anyway at Rainbow, and then Manitoba Theatre Centre. But then you come into it was Damn Yankees at Rainbow, right?
Yeah, I was one of them. Yeah.
Okay, but those are musicals.
Yes.
And so from then you came to
Manitoba Theatre Centre.
Manitoba, but then you became a classical actor as well. The juxtaposition is fantastic.
What happened was that John Hirsch, may he rest in peace,
wonderful,
was my mentor, and founded the Manitoba Theatre Centre. And I was a founding member of that company. And he engineered my going to Stratford. After we had done a season, their first season, in which Zoe Caldwell, not Zoe, but Kate Reed, Doug Rain, Bill Needles.
Oh, wow.
Had all come to Winnipeg to work, and Franny Hyland. And then the first, at the end of that first season that I'd done, I got a telegram from Michael Langham saying, I'm offering you as cast in the Stratford Festival next year. And I had no idea what I would do in Shakespeare. I really didn't, unless it was, Romeo or at that point. I had no idea. I was not well read in them at all. I came to John in the office at MTC, and I said, look, I got this telegram from Michael Langham. And I said, do you think I should go? And he looked at me and sort of smiled, and I went, oh, come on. You did this. And he said, well, I had a hand in it, yeah. And he, of course, had called Michael and said, you got to take this kid. He's got potential. So I went, and as cast, you're in every play, and you're understudying all this stuff. And so I said, I'm here. I don't really know what I should do in Shakespeare, so maybe I'd better go to rehearsals. And I went to virtually every rehearsal for every play. So I could figure out what it was I was supposed to do, or how I was supposed to participate. And it was a huge education for me that first year. And I came back to Winnipeg, and John said, how was it? And I said, well, I think it's a life changer. I said, because that's exactly what I want to do, is because that's where the challenge is with the classics. And he said, okay, but promise me you won't give up the musical.
Well, you've got right there, you've said Michael Langham and John Hirsch, two of the most important men, certainly career-wise, in your early part of your career. I mean, not only did you work with Michael in Stratford, but when he was running the Guthrie, you were there as well, were you not? You had a big part. And John, of course, when I first saw you, it was when you came back to do that section with John here in the early 80s, when he was running the festival.
Coriolanus.
And the Prospero and Tempest.
Yeah.
Brutus and Caesar.
Brutus arms the man.
And Petruchio.
Yeah,
Petruchio. Yeah. That's right. I saw those. So that was great. So I got a chance to join in on that. And then you, of course, went away again.
Yeah.
But those guys, those two gentlemen, as were they to me, to be quite honest, both Michael and John were instrumental in. Actually, I would have been here. I would have been carrying a spear for you, Len, if I'd said yes to John, because he asked me to join the company then. So that would have been interesting. He would have told me to constantly get out of the way, and that would have sorry. But as it happens, that wasn't the way I went. But so that led you up to the Guthrie. You were there for a number of years.
Yeah, 5 seasons total. But I went from after Mahagoni at the Avon that year. I was in Mahagony in the opera company, and Dougie Campbell came and invited me to join the Guthrie.
Well, how long did Dougie run it then, Len?
Probably 4 or 5 years, and then I think Dougie then moved back
to up here.
Ontario, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, okay. So I'm going to tie in Michael Kahn and Cyrano for a second, because you played Cyrano at the Guthrie.
Yeah.
You'd done an ensemble part at Stratford, and you'd also played Christian.
No, I played Christian in Cyrano at the Guthrie.
At the Guthrie.
Right. And I was in Plummer's
Cyrano
as cast.
And where did you play Cyrano?
Winnipeg.
Okay, Winnipeg.
When I went back as artistic director, I figured I should do something that they'll recognize me immediately. So I thought, I'll act as my first artistic directorship.
That's right, of course. You went back. And how long did you stay as artistic director?
Just 1 year, because my contract read that I'd signed as artistic director to take over for Eddie Gilbert. Right. The only way I could get out of that is if I was offered a Broadway show.
And?
Sweeney
Todd. Oh, just a Broadway show. Well, so at the Guthrie, you played Lear quite early, didn't you?
Well, it was at the end after I had done night music in New York. I was coming back. I was associate artistic director with Michael. And we were going to come back. We were going to do Macbeth. And I was salivating to do Macbeth. And he changed his mind and said, we're going to do Lear. And I had done Oedipus as the last thing that I'd done at the Guthrie. And, full body makeup. And I said, well, I'm not playing poor Tom, because I'm not going through all that body makeup every night. And he said, no Scottish play for you. You'll play Lear. Time you started doing those character parts.
Wow. Okay.
I was 35.
That's it, yeah. But isn't that magnificent? I was talking to Scott and Shauna about that, about how we've had opportunities, our predecessors had more opportunities to play those incredible roles at a younger age than we do now.
Right.
It must have been an incredible, as I use the word again, gift to you for everything else that you played subsequently.
Of course, it changes your life. It totally changes your life. If you play those, you look at it and you go, I cannot possibly do this. And Michael Langham says to you, yes, you can. And I'll direct you. And he was maybe the best director of Shakespeare that ever lived. Well, certainly in North America.
He was amazing.
He really was. He really was.
And you trusted it. I remember the first time I worked with him, I wasn't sure. And then within a week, I knew that I just give myself over and just, Michael, tell me what, and I'll try to do it. And it will work. He was a terrific, I thought, one of the best, as you say. But then so was John Hirsch. So was Dougie. So was Tyrone Guthrie. So, and the people, Michael Kahn. I mean, you've worked with all the fantastic North American.
And then I got Hal Prince.
Oh, Hal, well, okay. So let's go there. Come on, let's go. I mean, I just wanted to touch on your Lear and the Iago and as we mentioned before, the Petruchios, the Prosperos, the Brutus, the Coriolanus. The list is fantastic. It's fantastic. It basically is the canon. And then an individual who has done those at some of the great theaters on our continent, goes and does things like, maybe a little applause with Lauren Bacall, and then maybe a little something by a guy named Stephen Sondheim called Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, with a gal named Angela Lansbury. What the heck? Anyway, would you tell us a bit about Sweeney Todd?
Well, it was interesting because after I was in Winnipeg as artistic director. I wanted to do Company as our musical for the year. And I had done night music with Sondheim and Prince. And I called Harold Prince and I said, would you send me your stage manager's copy of Company? Because I want to do it as our musical and I want to have a reference point, if you don't mind. And he said, sure, I will. And he said, and by the way, Stephen is writing a musical for you. I said, by the way? He said, yeah. He said, it's based on a penny dreadful called Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And I'll send you what we have, and you can look at it. I said, okay. Because he knew that if I had an offer for a Broadway show, I could get out of the contract that I was in Winnipeg. So he sends it along with the Company script. And I'm, I look at it, I open it, because obviously I'm a little curious. No lyrics, book by Hugh Wheeler, who had done the book for Night Music. And really good book. But I thought, oh my God, they've lost it completely. They're out of their minds. How are you going to make a musical out of this? But I was cursory kind of reading it, and I was being artistic director, and I was also directing a play at the time. And so I put it off till the weekend. I took it home on the weekend and I reread it. And I went, well, I mean, if the guy writes, an extraordinary score, it might work. Who knows, So then they called me and said, we're going to go into rehearsal in December. So.
Had you heard any of the music?
No, heard nothing.
Okay. None, even when they said they were going to rehearsal. Okay.
Heard nothing. Heard no music, saw no lyrics.
Okay. Just
read the book.
Okay.
And they said, so we're going to go into rehearsal. So I said, okay, and I went to the board and I said, here, I'm sorry to pull this on you, but this is the thing that makes, that I get the out in the contract. And they said, well, okay. We're not going to stand in your way. There's nothing they could do anyway. So, So I left. And I got to New York and I get a phone call and it's Harold Prince in London saying, Len, can you get on the next plane? Because the guy doing your role isn't cutting it. And we want you to come and do the film. So the next day I fly to London. And the rest, of course, is history. We do that film there. And then we're back home in New York. Almost a year has gone by. And we're going to do Sweeney again. And we went into rehearsal and we weren't going out of town because of the set. So we built a set in the Uris Theater, which is now the Gershwin Theater. Because it was, if the original set was an abandoned steel mill. And Eugene Lee lived up in Rhode Island, and there was an abandoned steel mill there, and he bought the guts of it and brought it down to New York. And that was our set. So we couldn't go anywhere. So we had to do our previews, there in New York. And it was, we had some mechanical problems with the pie shop. They'd made it incorrectly and we couldn't get the thing on the stage. And the actors were being the crew and moving the set around. we finally had to stop. We never finished the tech before our first preview because it kept breaking down.
How many previews would you have had? Would you have had like 2-3 weeks? 3 weeks of previews?
Yeah, we had a month, I think.
Okay, cool, great.
Yeah.
Well, that one, as you say, is history, and that's one of the great stories of Broadway musical theater.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So you've been an actor and a director and in the theater and on film and television since you were in your early 20s. You're now just a few years more than that. But having had such a long and successful history in all mediums, on all continents and things, how do you feel now? I mean, you are, I beg your pardon, I will mention, of course, you are still doing a television series called
Right.
Blue Bloods, so it's not as if it's like anything stopping, but how do you feel up until this point?
Well, I started when I was a young guy, and I went to LA every season, for pilot season.
Pilots, sure.
And I couldn't get arrested. So after I'd done that for about 4 years, I said to my agents, okay, guys, I'm going to have a career in the theater. And when I'm 70, I'll do a television series and you can get your money from me then. And they all went, no, don't be ridiculous. And I said, no, sorry, but that's what I'm going to do. Well, when I was 70, along came Blue Bloods. So it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get for playing all those, the Lears and things when you're in your 30s and things. Yeah, you do all of those now. You don't have to wait till you're 70 to do Lear. You've done it, been there. And along the way, though, there were a lot of instances where you got to dip in and jump in and go for it and then come back to the theater. I want to talk about the Barden Broadway.
Right.
Because that would be like, we just film that and go, oh, okay, Len, we got it. Because that is basically the story, isn't it?
Pretty much.
And it is, how the script works is, please.
Well, I had this idea when I did Henry V. I was in Chicago with James Earl Jones doing Othello at the Goodman Theater School. Mm-hmm. And there was a bar that I went to on Rush Street virtually every night after. It was a great piano player. And his closing, it was like an open mic. It was the first open mic that I'd ever come across. And people come in and sing, and it was a theater bar. So all the gypsies would come in and have a drink, and someone get up and sing. And so I got up and sang a couple times, and then I thought, this guy played the piano, and his signature goodnight song was Brubeck's Take 5, which he played extraordinarily on the piano. And I was sitting there, and I got this idea. I came up to him, and I said, what do you say you do Take 5? And I do a soliloquy from Iago, as if you were accompanying me. And he went, yeah, man. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Well, we did it, and the place went nuts, of course. So I knew it worked. That accompanying something with the music of Shakespeare would really work. So I had the inspiration doing it. I began my career in New York. The first thing I did there was Henry V. And then 6 months later, I did a musical called Applause. And I had this idea about putting together an evening of Shakespeare in song. And I'll remind you, this was 2016 that I'm finally doing this.
Wow, okay.
So a little bit of a procrastinator, perhaps.
Well, I guess the joke would be if you're doing Henry V and you have to wait 6 months for Applause. Bad joke. So 2016 is the first time you did Broadway in the Barden.
Yeah, it was the 400th anniversary.
Of course. And how was that experience?
Scooped the entire North American continent because we did it in January 2016. And so it goes, so the premise is that I open with If Music Be the Food of Love. And after I've done that, and I won't go through all that, then I say, hi, thanks, well, welcome to Broadway in the Bard. I made my Broadway debut as Henry V, and I did applause, had this idea, and here's what inspired it all. So I go once more onto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead, cut to the end when I go, I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George. What is it that we're living for? Applause, applause. And sing that through.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what do you close with? What do you close with?
The last thing I do is brush up your Shakespeare.
Okay. Start quoting him now. And the women you will wow. I love that. That's such a great piece of music. It's such a delight. Len, what would you say to our gang who are watching us chat? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I'm just a little envious. Because I said earlier, 7 of the plays that you're doing, I've done.
Of course.
And some of them I did there. The Tempest. My Lear I didn't do there. In fact, it was the first play that I saw at Stratford. And it was the first play that I'd seen in the theater because I was in every other one of them. And I, for some reason, wasn't in King Lear. And so I went to the opening and sat in the first row of the balcony and thought, wow, what a way to watch a play.
Yeah, what a place to do a play.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, I kept in touch with the festival over the years, but, because those people were very much part of my education, if you will. And the theater itself, is probably the most wonderful theater in the world.
Yeah.
That's that Stratford Festival.
And you were all trailblazers. I mean, you created the theater in Canada for all of us. So that was amazing for all of you. You were the guys who explored the nooks and crannies for the rest of us. So thank you so much for joining us on this. It's Ger on In Good Company, and I'm in good company with Len Cariou. Thanks, Len.
Thanks, Ger.